I think websites will need to pivot from focused on terms and something that is purely consumed by a human to something that is designed to serve an AI agent.
Len Devanna is the VP of Customer Experience at Cortico-X, and he spent the last 25 years working in the areas of digital strategy, customer experience, and transformative leadership. Today, Len's joining us to have a conversation about what's next in this continuous evolution of how customers engage with brands. Thanks for joining us, Len.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity, Mike.
All right. So the web, as we have known it for years, seems like it's headed for significant change. The model of SEO optimized content and then traffic driven by search engines to that content and web destinations is changing. So how people navigate the web and find information is changing. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%, of course, yes.
And AI, partly to blame for that.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that we have, what helps me is to take a step back, because we all live in the moment. We all live in this time of accelerated change. But what helps me kind of process this and anchor myself is if we just go back a little bit. Let's go back 20 years for fun. Back in 2004, some subset of the population were still using dial-up modems, so you can't connect to the internet. Fax machines were important from a business perspective. Phones were just phones. They weren't little computers that could, with unlimited access to all the information on the planet. And social media wasn't really a thing. That's 20 years ago. So the impact over the last 2 decades, if you step back and sort of look at it, is just dramatic. It's almost night and day. And then if you now step into the moment and look at this evolution from a communications technology perspective we're on, is just accelerating at an unimaginable clip. Later on, in the past couple of years of late, the impact of AI is just supercharged this transformation. So yeah, as you suggest, websites are changing, which is going to have an enormous impact on how we engage with brands. But to your question around the implications from a search perspective and a discoverability perspective.
All right. So we've seen an evolution, right? We went from, if you go back in my lifetime, let's put it that way, you engage with brands, maybe over the phone or in person. You add different channels as you go, right? The web came around. Now there's AI. What's next?
I think, and I'll give a nod to our mutual friend Mark Sirkin for this one. This is all his fault for me. Mark, some months back, posted or created a post about a conversation he was having with his I think it was ChatGPT voice agent, and that really got my head spinning. So what I did that day, and everyone's welcome to judge me, but I took the dog for a walk and I slapped in my headphones and I took Mark's lead and I asked ChatGPT at the time, I want you to challenge my knowledge in customer experience strategy and excellence by asking me a series of questions. I will answer your questions, and I want you to effectively analyze my thinking. And that, over the next week or two, it led to a bunch of really interesting walks with the dog. The conversations I were having were absolutely fascinating. Then we pivoted to, hey, help me work on my Spanish. But then the magic came when I started asking this voice agent about buying questions. So specifically, prior to Cortico-X, I spent some time as head of customer experience at Lucid Motors. Lucid makes one of the best EVs on the planet. And my query to my chat agent, the voice agent at the time was, hey, I'm in the market for a luxury electric vehicle. What brands should I be thinking about? And it was fascinating to me because the information I started getting back, there was some good stuff and there was some bad stuff, but it led me to believe, or it led me to understand that, we are moving to a place where we engage with brands in a very, very different medium. And I'll step back one more time. We've been using the keyboard since, I don't know when it was invented, I think late mid-1950s. Anyway, it doesn't matter. the thing about the notion of how you engage with a computer today through typing is it almost feels archaic, especially as this notion of voice agents come to fruition. So to your question specifically, I believe in the not too distant future, um, we will be focused far more on the notion of ubiquitous voice agents. And that is a voice agent that is around us and part of our life. That's not necessarily a Siri or an Alexis, although they may evolve to that. These are far, far more intelligent agents that can understand my needs, interpret what I'm hunting for, and effectively be a proxy to go off and discover the information I'm searching for throughout the customer experience via voice. So the implications there, from a brand perspective and from a societal perspective, are just enormous. So said simply, I think we are at the early stages of a transition where voice becomes a far more prevalent means in which we engage with brands.
So folks who work in marketing or in customer experience who are listening to this conversation, they think voice agents, is this another channel that I need to manage? We kind of went through the list, right? Telephone, website, and now voice agent. Is that where you see this going, or does it replace other channels?
I don't think if it's hard to say sort of the destination, but I think if as we think about next phase, I think a voice agent will become a really important part of an omni-channel strategy. And right now, I don't believe brands are giving this, or most brands are giving this sort of trend the energy or the thinking that it needs. I think, yeah. So I think voice agents will become a key channel, but I don't necessarily think they'll replace websites in the near term. I think a website will remain a cornerstone of a brand experience, but its role will evolve. It'll evolve from being a destination where it traditionally, as a marketer for the past 20 years, I've been focused on, if someone searches for this term, I want to make sure they find me. So I'm seeding that term in my metadata and throughout my site. That's so search today has been look for these specific words and show me where they show up most relevant to you. But I think that will evolve to a place where websites are the trusted source of truth for a brand, but they need to be created and structured in a way such that they are serving up information to these voice agent intermediaries in a way that the brand, the company, wants to be portrayed. Think how many times, Mike, you and I have been building or helping a corporate site client, think about their homepage, and we spend so much time thinking about the image of the smiling family holding up a product. That kind of don't matter anymore in this new world, right? Because a voice agent will look right through that. It's looking for factual data. So how do websites move from sort of term-based thinking from an SEO perspective to really semantic structures that agents can easily interpret based on their the consumer's need? And by the way, just back to the Lucid example, I would encourage absolutely everyone listening to go off and use one of these. Use chat. I think the free Chat GPT has a voice interface. Ask it about your brand. Hey, and it doesn't matter if you're in the healthcare business or fast food or cars, it doesn't matter. Hey, what's the best barber shop in my area? What's the best fast food chain? Where should I go to eat on New Year's Eve? Ask it anything about your brand and see how you're being interpreted today. See how you're being represented, because it is the next wave. So I think websites will need to pivot from focused on terms and something that is purely consumable by a human to something that is also consumable by a human, but also designed to serve an AI agent. Clicking down one more layer, I think these websites will need to evolve, whether API from an API service perspective, such that we can integrate to more back office systems. If you stick with my analogy, it's the holiday season. I might ask, "Hey, agent, where's my Crate and Barrel shipment?" Right. So now think of the implications here. Think of what these go off and find. And then just sort of paring down deep, I think websites will have to serve as effectively a beacon of credibility for a brand, offering deep and rich content for users that have sort of been led there through an AI agent, perhaps, but they're looking for that last point of validation. So in some ways, I think websites become a repository of trust, a place where consumers can verify the information that they've gotten through voice agents.
Yeah. But you know, and you were talking about what goes into creating a website now for humans looking at websites with their eyes. I think of all of the pillars of brand marketing that have existed for years and all the discussions about the pictures and the colors and all that stuff that takes up a lot of time and energy to get that right, what you think it's right, what your boss thinks is right, perhaps most importantly. Um, yeah, in a voice activated world, that whole job changes dramatically.
It does, and I've been throwing around a term that I really do believe, and this is it's a tremendous source of passion for me. But for so many years as a marketer, I've been focused on share of voice. How many people are talking about my brand against the competitive set? And that's a very important metric for marketers. But I believe moving forward, we are increasingly going to be talking about share of model instead of share of voice, or maybe in addition to, and that is how is my brand being interpreted and presented by intermediary AI agents? And it's absolutely fascinating to me. Um, yeah, as you suggest, I've been doing this for a long time, hence the grays. But I suspect it's not going to take us a long time. I suspect the world looks very different um, in a year, 2 years, but certainly 5. I think this landscape has flipped on its head.
What did Len want to be when he was 10 years old?
Len didn't know what he wanted to be when he was 10 years old, but Len aspired to be something in entertainment. I'll embarrass myself. I'm among friends here. As a 10-year-old boy, I was putting on a lot of shows for the neighborhood and neighborhood kids, neighborhood parents, puppet shows, plays in the basement. So there's something in me that was destined for entertainment. That actually led me to a stint in radio. So I spent about a decade of my early career in radio, believe it or not.
Well, that explains Len's smooth voice. There you go. Right. Thanks for joining us on Conversations with Martech.
Thank you for the opportunity. Cheers.
If you like Conversations with Martech, you're going to love what the Martech Conference is planning in March. The Spring Martech Conference takes place March 25th and 26th, 2025. It's online, it's free, and it'll be more interactive than ever before. Get your free pass today and join the Martech conversation.